Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing my 2022 Formula 1 predictions. Last year my predictions were absolutely rubbish, they stank. Let's see if I can get a few more correct for next year's season. This video, but next year's season. It's a little bit confusing for me to get my head around. So first off, the first category is most improved driver of the year. Now for me, this has got to be someone who's had a pretty rubbish 2021 season and someone who's going to bounce back 100%. And for me, that's got to be Daniel Ricciardo, right? I mean, it was between him and Yuki because both of them had seasons where they didn't perform as expected. I mean, Daniel only had 6 top 5 finishes versus Lando's 10. Yes, okay, one of them was a win, but it was still... I mean, you can't even call it fluke, to be fair, because he beat Verstappen fair and square when he was behind him. So I feel like it's got to be Daniel. Yuki seemed to be improving at the end of the year. I mean, he could lose his confidence all over again, like he did after Bahrain or, you know, those first few races. He seemed to lose his confidence. And so I think that kind of risk means that I feel like it's more likely to be Daniel Ricciardo that's most improved than Yuki. And I just think Daniel's going to get his mojo back. And especially with the new regulations kind of resetting things, I just feel like it's going to give him that boost, that confidence to go with that cheery smile that he's just going to absolutely smash it. I genuinely think he will. Next category is worst performing driver of the year. Have a guess who I'm going to put here. It is Nikita Mazepin. Yes, you are correct. It's a bit of a gift category for myself, isn't it? You know, when you have someone like Nikita in the sport, that's a bit peak, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And I think that's enough said, really. Just worst performing driver of the year, Nikita Mazepin. That sounds really peak, but that's just how I think it's going to go. And I'll probably be correct. Now, the next category is an interesting one because there's a number of people that could arguably go towards it. And for me, it's got to be George. It's got to be George Russell. You know, he had an absolutely stellar season in 2021. And, you know, I just reckon he's going to be in his absolute element in that 2022 Mercedes. It's not that I think that, you know, the likes of Max, Lando and Lewis aren't going to be performing well. It's just that we expect it from them, but we don't know what to expect from George. We expect him to be good, but we don't know if he will be. Whereas we know with Max, Lando and Lewis, they're always going to be performing at the top end in their car. So that's why I think he's going to be driver of the year. Next up is rookie of the year, and I believe we only have one rookie. Well, one real rookie. I don't think Albon counts. So that is obviously going to be Guan Yu Zhou for me. Yeah, again, another gift category, really. Next up, we have the most toxic intra-team rivalry. So that means inside the team, so between drivers. Now, for me, I feel like Daniel's going to do better next season. So for me, I feel like the most toxic is going to be between Lando and Daniel. Now, I know you're thinking, these are the two nicest guys in Formula 1. Why the hell do you think their rivalry is going to be toxic? Now, all I'm saying is, behind that smile and that cheeky laugh of Lando's, there is a cutthroat racing driver, okay? And you could see, even at Monza, he was absolutely seething that he wasn't able to win for the team and that it was Daniel that won. And he was disappointed with P2, which is fair enough, right? Because the other car was ahead and he always wants to be the first car. And that's why I think it will add a bit of tension to the team. But I do think that, you know, this period of tranquility is going to come to an end, provided that Daniel starts performing as he should and as he's expected to. As much as I love Lando, I think he's a fantastic guy, fantastic person, fantastic driver. There is that side to him that I feel like he can be absolutely savage. So I think that he will show that a bit more next year with Daniel maybe performing a bit better. Next up is most toxic inter-team rivalry. Now, this is between two or more teams, but for me, I'm just doing it between two teams. For me, that's got to be McLaren and Ferrari, right? These two have been quietly chipping away at the points all year. Well, I say quietly, it's not really been quiet, has it? But you know what I mean. And as far as I'm aware, they haven't been developing their cars too much throughout the year. I mean, McLaren started off strong. They had that kind of cheat with the diffuser from the start of the year, so that really helped them at the start of the year, essentially the first half of the season. They also have the advantage of, you know, being in the almost like the Goldilocks zone in terms of the constructor standings. You've got good prize money from being P3, P4 in the constructors, but they also, because of the sliding scale, the way it works, they'd have more aero testing than Mercedes and Red Bull, and they also have facilities, right? So I feel like that's going to help them jump ahead of Mercedes and Red Bull. They're just in that perfect spot to kind of take over, and they are pretty close. And obviously with the regulations completely changing, it completely levels the playing field. So any advantage like that will definitely have an effect on the positions in the constructors. Now, these are the interesting predictions. First up, Constructors champion. Now, for me, I just feel like that's got to be Ferrari. I feel like they've just been quietly confident all year. They have, for me, the best driver lineup. Well, they had the best driver lineup this year. Next year, I think it's between them and Mercedes. But I feel like they've kind of gone under the radar all year, and I just feel like they're going to clinch it, but it's going to be close between them and McLaren. That's just what I think. Then for Drivers' Champion, I genuinely couldn't decide between Lando and Charles for Drivers' Champion. I feel like it's going to be so close between the two teams, and I'm just not sure. Part of me wants to say Lando, because between him and Charles in terms of consistency, I definitely feel like Lando has the edge. Charles made some silly mistakes, but I feel like Charles' experience being at the front fighting for a championship when Ferrari were, was it 2018, 2019 time, when they were fighting Mercedes, I feel like that experience will help him a lot. But then again, you know, Lando's used to winning. He's been winning all throughout his junior category. So it swings and roundabouts. That's why I can't decide between them. But for Drivers' Champion, we're gonna put Lando or Charles. I'm sorry that I'm on the fence between those two, but I genuinely couldn't decide. Right, so this next section we're going to go through the whole standings for drivers and constructors champions, and you know, we're just going to pick out a few people who I think will be where and why. So let's just start off with the drivers championship, going from P20. I mean, you can see the table on screen now, at least you should be able to. Let's just pick out Guan Yu Zhou. I think it's going to be a quiet rookie year for Zhou. I don't think he's really going to compare to Valtteri. I feel like Valtteri's sort of at his prime in his career right now. I don't think he's really going to be able to significantly challenge Valtteri. There will obviously be races where he beats him. It's a 23 race season. But I just feel like he's definitely going to have points on the table, even if it is just one or two, but I'm not sure he's going to compare to Valtteri. Moving up one spot, we've got Alex Albon. I'm just not sure Williams are going to have a great season. I think, as far as I'm aware, it was pretty close between Albon and Latifi. They used to be teammates in Formula 2, and they've raced each other in Formula 2 for a number of years. And it's always been close, but then when Alex was in the same team as Nicholas, he had the edge. So I feel like that's going to play out in Williams again. I think it's going to be close between Latifi and Albon, but I just see Albon being better, essentially. So that's some of the driver championship kind of predictions. You've seen the table, you've heard some of my thoughts on different drivers. That's just what I think. So now let's have a look at the constructors predictions that I made. Just going down from P10, you can see the table on screen. Just mentioning some teams. Haas, yes, they've invested their 2021 budget entirely into next year's car, but their facilities and their design team are not really likely to come up with something as good as Adrian Newey for Red Bull or James Allison for Mercedes. I feel like they're going to be a competitive midfield, but I feel like they're not going to maximise on points opportunities due to having new drivers in the car. That's just my thoughts. So I think they're going to be P9, but I do think the field is going to be very, very competitive. So P9 to maybe P6 is definitely going to be close. So it's going to be tough, but it's also not actually going to be like 2 seconds off the pace in qualifying. It's not going to be like that. At least I don't think it's going to be. Next up, I've put Red Bull P4. Now, they have invested a huge amount into their 2021 car. Why have I written 2020? That was last year. They've invested a huge amount into their 2021 car, and rightly so, because this was their best chance to win the double. They didn't win the double in the end, but they won the drivers. Fair enough. But I think that's going to impact next year's car. Mercedes, they brought a couple upgrades at the start of the seasons, tiny upgrades. Then they brought their big upgrade for Silverstone. But for the majority of the season, they weren't upgrading their car. So I think they're definitely going to be ahead of Red Bull. But I'm just not sure that Red Bull are going to be fighting for a championship next year. I just don't see it. And then, as I've already said, for Mercedes, I've put them in P3. I reckon they'll be near the top end because they spent a lot of the 2021 budget on the 2022 car, but I don't think they're going to be as competitive as McLaren or Ferrari. And I just think that's due to the added restrictions. I've already said it before, but the added restrictions from being more competitive. By being more competitive in 2021, it hinders your development for the 2022. And so the teams that are in that kind of Goldilocks kind of sweet spot, the McLaren, the Ferrari, maybe Aston Martin and Alpine, they kind of can jump them in a way because they've got a healthy budget, but they've also got facilities and they've also got the added bonus of having a larger allowance in terms of CFD runs, wind tunnel testing, that kind of thing. So I think that's why Ferrari and McLaren will jump Mercedes and Red Bull, but I still think Mercedes are going to be competitive. But that's it for today's video. I've kind of lost my voice towards the end there. I've been talking so much. Just briefly talking about 2022. It is going to be a fantastic season. I genuinely cannot wait. Whatever the outcome is, I don't even care anymore because, I mean, after this year with Lewis, and obviously I am a Lewis fan, I'm genuinely just so tired, and I'm happy to just take a step back and just enjoy Formula One for a year and just not really care and just watch it for the sake of enjoying Formula One. I think these regulations are going to make racing so much more competitive, and I can't wait to see that. And just in general, I cannot wait. And I know it's like March, right? So depending on when this video comes out, it might be the new year already. So we've got 3 or 4 months left. So it's not long, and I just can't wait. And I'm sure you guys can't wait either. But that's it for today's video. Sorry if you're still watching and I've been waffling a lot. I apologize. I do this. Welcome to the channel. Where have you been? But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Peace.